If you're going on a cruise, you definitely want to avoid some of these common as well as some of these lesser known cruise mistakes that have the potential to impact and even ruin your cruise. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, anybody can make some of these cruise mistakes. In fact, I've made a couple over the years, at least. But what I'm going to do in this video is share with you some of the common cruise mistakes as well as some of the new cruise mistakes that people are actually making now, how to avoid them and how to fix them. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so I have 8 different points to go through. Now, the first one is going to seem maybe a little bit obvious because we have talked about it before and other people do talk about this, but the solution is maybe a little bit less obvious. So the first thing is flying in on the same day as your cruise. Now, honestly, it is probably the #1 mistake that cruisers make because there is the potential to miss their cruise if their flight is late, if they have a cancellation. Anything could really happen with flights, especially these days. However, at the same time, people say that it really is just a very stressful way to actually get to their cruise. So you don't want to do this. You want to fly in 1 or even 2 days before. But a potential solution is actually to look at cruise line air. Now, I still wouldn't fly in on the same day as your cruise. What you can do is look at cruise line air, fly in the day before, 2 days before. Many different cruise lines now have a really good cruise line air option that's available right on their website. Oftentimes you can choose your own flights, your carriers, and the pricing will be pretty competitive. Now, I do have to say that different cruise lines have different terms and conditions, so you definitely want to watch out for this. This is not advice that is good across the board, but many of the popular cruise lines really do have very good cruise line air now, and I think it really is a very good option. And a little bonus about cruise line air is if there is a problem getting you to the cruise ship or if there's a flight cancellation, then at least you have a number to call and they will help you out to get you to the next port. #2, not being prepared for the weather on a cruise. Now, I definitely have been guilty of this in the past, even in the recent past, but a lot of times what happens is cruisers just assume that the weather in certain destinations for cruises is kind of always going to be the same. So for instance, a Caribbean cruise or a Bahamas cruise, a Mexican Riviera cruise, a Hawaii cruise, from the beginning of the cruise to the end. And the reality is that at different times of the year, it is actually going to be cooler. And oftentimes those Mexican Riviera cruises, those Hawaii cruises are really cooler at the beginning and at the end of the cruise. And some people say that that's really surprised them. They didn't bring an extra sweater or an extra light jacket. I definitely had that when we did a recent cruise to the Bahamas. It was really cooler than I thought, especially in the evening time or even sometimes during the day. And I thought, oh, I could have probably brought a couple of long sleeve dresses. That would have worked out well for me. So it is a good idea. Really research the weather before you go. #3, bringing prohibited items on a cruise, including some things that may not be obvious at all, especially nowadays. So some of the things that people bring on a cruise that they shouldn't bring on a cruise is an iron, a clothes steamer. Innocently, I think a lot of times people think, well, a clothes steamer doesn't seem like it can cause a fire. The other thing that people are bringing sometimes on a cruise, and honestly can get you in a lot of trouble legally, like big trouble, is anything that's like a CBD product. You're not allowed to bring that on a cruise. Now, also something else that people bring on cruises that they're not allowed to bring on cruises is surge protected power bars. I see this come up in Facebook groups all the time. The kind that you can bring is a non-surge protected power bar. I will leave that linked down below in the description of this video. And if you are thinking about ironing your clothes, you can use instead like Downy wrinkle release and just the steam from the shower. That will work pretty well. #4, missing a final payment. Now, this is something I've seen come up a few times over the last few months, and I think it's becoming a little bit of a bigger problem. I don't know if we all just have so many things on our minds, but this is happening to some people. And if you are wondering what happens if you miss your final payment, well, your cruise gets canceled. So not only do you lose your deposit, but you also lose out on that price that you had originally booked your cruise for. So if your cruise gets canceled and you miss that final payment date, if you still want to go on your cruise because maybe you have your flights booked and your vacation time already booked, you will now have to pay the prevailing rate. You'll have lost your cabin. It is a really big deal. So you really need to keep track of that final payment date. Now, I have a couple of tips for you. What I do is I keep my final payment date on like my pre-cruise checklist. So I have my final payment date, but what I actually do is I put my final payment date for 1 week before, just in case anything happens. I get very busy, maybe there's an emergency or something like that. I don't leave it till the last day. So this way I make my final payment, somewhere in the week before my cruise. Now, if you are interested in the pre-cruise checklist, I have that, as well as cruise packing forms, cruise embarkation date checklist, and more. All of that is included in the Ultimate Cruise Planner. Now, the Ultimate Cruise Planner is a downloadable, printable cruise planner that you can use to keep organized from the time that you book your cruise, through your final payment, through your embarkation, and all the way through your disembarkation from your cruise. Now, if you are interested in checking out what's included in the Ultimate Cruise Planner, I will leave that information down in the description below this video. Number 6, not planning for the potential of lost or misplaced luggage. It's unfortunately a thing that not only happens now, but it could happen at any time. So things that you do want to do is make sure that you bring at least one extra change of clothes. And I would even go a step further. I would bring one extra change of clothes, but also make sure you bring at least 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, and maybe 2 shirts. So even if you are wearing those bottoms a second day, if it takes a little longer to find your luggage, or even to buy a new wardrobe if that's the worst that can happen, at least you do have that extra shirt. So that's always something good. And make sure as well that you do have your medication on you in your personal bag. There's probably nothing more important. A travel hack a lot of people are using right now is to put an AirTag, or if you don't have an iPhone, then you can put a tile or the equivalent into your luggage so that you can track your luggage wherever you are. Number 7, cruising and traveling without adequate travel insurance. Now, this is just a mistake that people continue to make, unfortunately, and you definitely do want to make sure that you have travel insurance. It doesn't matter if you're young, it doesn't matter if you're healthy, because things can happen anywhere. We can break a leg when we're in Mexico, we can have a problem on the cruise ship and need to be evacuated by air. These are things that are very, very expensive, and you just don't want to have to even worry about this or have your family worry about it. So make sure that you do buy your travel insurance. Now, in terms of insurance recommendations, all of our needs are different and we all live in different locations. So it really is important to look for yourself to see what would be the best insurance for you. And somebody that you can start with is a travel agent. They can oftentimes help you to find the best insurance for your needs. Number 8, and I think this one might surprise you a little bit, but it is booking a boring cruise. Now, what do I mean by a boring cruise? Of course, there is no such thing as a boring cruise, but there is a cruise that is the better fit for you, and a cruise that might be a better fit for me. And unfortunately, I think sometimes when people do give cruises maybe negative reviews, or they just didn't have a good time on their cruise, it was because they maybe didn't really research it very much, or it just really wasn't what they expected. So it really is important, no matter what cruise line that you book with, that you do check the cruise ship, that you do check recent reviews, that you do see how large that cruise ship is, that you see what are the activities that are on board. Because contrary to what a lot of people think, of course, all cruise ships, even within the same line, are not the same. Now, I'm going to leave a video right after this one that is all about the rude things that you do not want to do on a cruise. Now, I'm going to leave the information all about the Ultimate Cruise Planner below in the description of this video, and I'd love to know from you, what are some of the cruise mistakes that you maybe have made or you see other people making? Please let me know down below in the comments below this video. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.